hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Sweet.
Chaz Smith, welcome to episode 300.
This is it, David Lee Scales. This is what we set out to do all those years ago is reach 300 episodes of The Grit.
Can you believe we made it?
I can't, there was times along the way that I thought it's just too hard. It's just too hard. But look at us. We did it.
With
We
our
are
wildest
heroes
hairstyles,
on a journey.
perhaps ever. For anybody who's on YouTube right now, it's not a glorious look for episode 300.
No, it's a bad luck for episode 300, but man, yeah, we had a sleepover last night. When you have a sleepover, they are tend to be, or when the kids get older, they get more rambunctious, of course. And so, like, I'm pounding on the floor like an old man, go to bed at, I don't know, it was like probably 11:30 by the time they finally pipe down. And then who knows how much longer they stayed up and then get shaken awake at 4 a.m. Papa, she has a stomach ache.
Oh,
I'm like, oh man, okay, let's go back to bed. If it hurts in a while, come get me. We'll figure it out. But yeah, didn't have to
is
get
it
got
because
again.
they was it because they ate candy until midnight or
Exactly. This
something? Yeah.
this morning I came down and looked in the room where they were sleeping, and it was just Takis and bowls of ice cream and who knows what else was consumed. So I had the tear in my heart that okay, this is as I like groggily laid there. Okay, this is if this is appendicitis, I got to figure this out quick.
Right.
And so like stayed semi awake and as alert as I could be until, but yeah, they're still sawing logs, so I don't think appendicitis.
Okay, good. I've never eaten a Taki in my life,
Really?
and I don't plan to.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and I tell you time and time again, Austin's almost to the age where the floodgates are going to be open for new experiences. And I don't know that Takis will be trending when he's of age, but that's when you eat your Takis. I don't think as an adult man, you should have any interest to go in and say, what's kind of the trending new potato chip amongst the kids, and go buy one off the rack. There'd be no point in that.
When they hit, I thought that it was like a foreign food. You know how sometimes you see, I don't know, like uh, any country version of a potato chip or whatever lands here, and the name is different, the packaging's slightly different, and it just looks foreign. The flavors are foreign. It's like
Yeah.
prawn flavored shrimp or something, or chips, and you're like, that's not quite right. And you eat it, and it's fine or whatever. But Takis just looked like a foreign product. The name's weird, the
Yep.
packaging's weird, but
The
apparently it's
shape is
from
weird.
here.
Yeah, there's a so Doritos has their own Takis now. Doritos realize, wait, we're corn chips. We're American corn chips, not Mexican corn chips. We're gonna take over this Taki, or take some of the Taki market. I can't remember what theirs are called, but somehow kid a year ago or something had seen it on YouTube, or an influencer was pushing these Doritos version of Takis. And so she went on Amazon and ordered one bag. And I don't know what she did with the shipping. She went on the wife's Amazon account, ordered one bag. I don't know how she sorted it out, but it ended up costing like $45 for one small bag of Doritos Takis. And let me tell you, the wife was not pleased about it when she got the bill later.
That is hilarious. Speaking of stomach aches, last week our dog had like diarrhea, and thankfully is well trained enough to not crap in the house. But we don't leave the doggy door. It's on a slide. It's we have to leave the slider door open in order for her to access the doggy door, which is through the screen. And at night we close it all. So like she needs our attention to get outside at night. And thankfully she made it outside every time. But it was all the culprit of my wife giving her table scraps and food.
Yeah.
Like it was literally one day I caught her giving a pup cup, quote unquote, a homemade pup cup, which I guess is what Starbucks does, which is whipped cream in a cup. Lauren gave the dog whipped cream bowl, like a full bowl full of whipped cream. And whipped cream, by the way, look at the package, is like no cream. It's all like hydrogenated oil that's aerated. So later, when the dog's diarrheaing everywhere. I was like, you think that had anything to do with the bowl of hydrogenated oil you gave her earlier? And then the very next day I see her giving her table scraps again. I'm like, stop it, please stop all of this. I know like that's human food as opposed to oil, but her stomach's all greased up now. She just give her the kibble.
Yeah,
Please stop with the shenanigans. We know how to feel good and how to live right. Let's just stick to it, you know?
that's amazing.
I
That's
know.
really good.
I know.
How,
And
how,
the funny thing was it took me to figure it out. Like she was
yeah.
confused, like what is wrong? Maybe she ate some poison or something. I'm like, yeah, straight out of our own refrigerator. So, anyways, how was Christmas?
It was great. It was
Yeah,
great. Christmas around here is double fraught. It is the wife's birthday as well
that's right.
on Christmas Day. So like uh not that of course the wife is emotionally mature so doesn't get feelings hurt and things like that. I think it was hard through her life sometimes to or often through her life to have share day on Christmas Day, right? Where you're second fiddle, you never get your day, et cetera, et cetera. But it was a real banger on Christmas Day. It was just family, just me, two daughters, and daughter's boyfriend playing board games till like midnight, which was yeah, a lot of laughs, a lot of fun.
Any good board games?
It wasn't actually a board game. I take it back. It was a the kids, the older ones, always bring good games from college where it people must still be playing games. It was called Fishbowl, I think,
Don't know.
where everybody thinks up seven things. It can be anything. You write it on a piece of paper, you throw it into a hat, break up into teams. You pick one of them. Uh, Round one, you get to explain with as many words as you want, but you just can't say the word, what the thing is. You know, if you win it, you win it. Uh, Second round, so you play through every card or whatever, every slip of paper in the hat, put them all back in. So you've all heard them once. Second round is you have to act them all out, charade style, can't say a word. You go through that whole round, put them all back in. Third round is you can only say one word to describe it. And then winner at the end is the winner. And you'd think it'd be real easy. You'd think through round one, you would have heard what everything is. And so you can charade it and one word it pretty easy, but it's not easy. And it gets progressively more hilarious and frustrating as you can't figure out the things you already know.
Good. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Yeah, games have gotten good. At like occasion Cards Against Humanity, I feel like
Yeah.
came and that was like turned everything on its head. It used to be all traditional games that kind of we all knew and they were all boring. And then that hit, and it's like, oh man, there's a whole new era of games.
I feel Cards Against Humanity hit, and game makers thought, "Oh wait, there is still an appetite." We had just seen declining sales on Trivial Pursuit, and yeah, whatever
Yeah.
for any kind of monopoly for decades. But here we have this spike in sales. People want new games. They want
Yeah.
edgy games.
Um, Part of our holiday traditions has or food has become a part of holiday traditions for us now, where it's like we do lox and bagels on Christmas morning 3 years in a row, and now really look forward to it. And it's something that like you don't really eat for whatever reason. I could eat that any day of the year if I
Man,
wanted to. I just don't, you know?
how heavy do you go? We did lots of lox and bagels for Christmas morning as well. How heavy do you go on capers on your bagels on your lox?
Fully heavy.
I dump as many I
Yeah.
have capers like hailing off the thing as I'm trying to eat it.
Yeah. So you want to do cream cheese and then the capers in the cream cheese so they get embedded in and they don't fall off.
Yeah, I know. I always
There's a
make the
layering
mistake.
strategy.
I go cream cheese and then I put my salmon. Then I'm like, oh, I'm in too deep.
Yeah.
Let's get the tomato on and then the capers on top of that and try to hold it.
Yeah. I go red onion as well.
Red onion too. Yep.
Pickle or not pickles, cucumbers if you're feeling crazy. Sometimes
Yep.
I'll do that as a lunch instead of a breakfast, but cucumbers, lemon, I like lemon and lemon pepper, and one other thing that I'm forgetting now. Oh, avocado if you feel like it.
Do you toast your bagel or leave it untoasted?
Toast,
Toast, but do you let it like sit out or do you try to get everything on it hot?
hot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I toast. I don't like melty cream cheese. So I
Mm.
toast, let sit to room temperature, prepare.
I like in almost any meal, I like, or any dish, I should say, contrasting textures and contrasting temperatures.
Hmm.
That's the key to
Smart.
success. Anyways, what I was going to say is yesterday I had the trifecta. I had my three favorite meals in one day. Leftover lox for breakfast, beautiful bagel, uh, a lasagna, which is one of my favorite meals for lunch.
Leftover or straight?
Leftover. I made one on Sunday. I make an all-day lasagna. I've been working on this thing for years. I've got it pretty close to perfection.
I have a question about lasagna real quick for you.
Yeah.
Lasagna is, I'm going to say, 30% better as leftovers.
Yeah.
But do you actually have to eat it the first day to get to that ratio? Or can you make a lasagna, put it in the fridge, and actually have leftover lasagna the like round one? Or is it
Yes.
impossible? Do you actually have to eat some that first night in order to have it leftovery the second night?
You're going to be tempted to, but I have made it specifically for the next day because
Okay, so you make it, throw it in
it's
the fridge.
yeah, because it's so much work. It's like if you're having a dinner party tomorrow, you don't want to have the prep, cleaning the house and the prep of the food. So if I could do the prep of the food one day and then clean the house tomorrow, whatever. But people don't realize like a traditional lasagna has bechamel. And so the I do a bolognese that takes like 4 hours. So that's a big process. The bechamel, if you do it properly, it's slow. So that takes over an hour. And then, the ricotta filling is a process, and then the layering is a process. But man, I'll make that for you one day. I'll bring it
Okay,
over,
good.
leftover
I'm
style.
excited.
Phenomenal. And then I did the leftover beef Wellington last night. So I did lox and bagels breakfast, lasagna lunch, Wellington dinner. It was the ultimate day.
A hat trick of deliciousness. How does the Wellington? I saw a picture of your Wellington, made my mouth water.
Yeah,
How does that taste day two?
not as good.
Yeah, the meats are always rough day two.
Yeah, not as
Dry.
good. But you can do it better. Like, don't put it in the microwave. You got to put it in the oven, kind of crisp up the crust again. The oven's definitely the superior method. People have air fryers. I don't know. The sales pitch with those is it reheats stuff good. I don't own one, but the oven works good for me. And then sauces always help. So red wine reduction, once it comes out of the oven, that brings it back to life.
Okay,
So
noted.
yeah. Cool. Did you get, how did the gift go? The Bobby Quad.
Went wonderfully. The Bobby Quad, I'll tell you, not only got opened on Christmas morning, but got surfed day after Christmas and delight spreading across the face. Have you seen a Bobby Quad?
Yeah, I took one to El Salvador and gifted it to the people, our surf guides that were hosting us.
Did the surf guides enjoy their Bobby Quad?
Totally. We had it on the trip and it was like a community board that we all kind of rode and surfed. And then I left it behind with them. And they were actually riding it throughout the trip too. And so that's when I realized these guys need to have it, not me.
It's a phenomenal board looking at it, and it's like the perfect feels. I mean, I'm sure it's perfect many places, but a perfect, like, not ideal wave board of if you're going to be surfing and needing to pick up some scraps and just needing to make turns. It's like, wow, it's like all that I would want to surf around here. Made me jealous looking at her upon it.
I I have like a more not like a perception block. Like when I see a board like that, short and squat, I think I need to ride it in grovelly waves or ride it a certain way. And so it really helps to watch footage of the pros riding it because you watch Bobby and he surfs it exactly like he would surf a shortboard thruster, where he's just like going straight up into the lip and cracking it. He's riding it in really good waves. I felt that way with the Godowskis brothers and their G skate as
Yeah,
well, where I get the G skate and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna like wait for grovelly waves and try to just like bounce off sections, like kind of skate
surf
around on
goofy.
it. Yeah, just yeah, exactly. Not take it too seriously, I think is
Yeah,
what ultimately I'm saying. And when you watch them, they surf it in really good waves in Hawaii with like, power in the surf, and the board is actually performing better than it does in grovelly surf. So watching the pros do it, I think is helpful.
great advice. I'm gonna get the wife onto Bobby Martinez's latest cut.
Exactly. Well, the ultimate Christmas gift really for me this week was the Eddie running on Sunday.
How much did you watch of the Edward?
The Edward. Um, I mean, in the end, I probably watched almost all of it, I think. Not in real time, but in the end, going back and watching clips and everything, I probably covered most of it.
It's
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
it's Eddie is interesting. Eddie, I suppose, is the lasagna of surf contests because you watch the Eddie once and it's great. It's good. Know that it's good. And then you watch the Eddie in clips in little bite-sized leftovers, and that's when it becomes incredible. Like I watched Landon McNamara's wave, for example, in real time, and I knew that it was impressive. I was like, whoa, that's a wave. But then you see different angles, or you see the way how vertical his drop was. You see the little nuances, and that's when it really becomes incredible. Because I feel when the camera's pulled back, and you know what it is, but you can trick yourself into thinking that Waimea is a little bit of a burger, a little bit of a, go straight and you'll be fine. But it is absolutely not. And I feel that comes through with seconds.
It's a great point. It's hard to take it all in. Um, you're right. Like that wave, it doesn't stand out as more spectacular when you're watching the day in its totality than somebody getting obliterated in the shore break or a closeout, closing out the bay and everybody ditching their boards and trying to swim under. And then Healy falling off of a giant building, essentially wiping out, needing to be rescued. Like all of it is so spectacular and not related to me surfing at all in any way that it's like hard to distinguish one thing from being more amazing than another. But upon replay, when you see the execution of that ride, yeah, it's undeniable. That is the ride of the day. It's the ride of many, many years that I've seen from Waimea. And he's the first goofy footer ever to win the event as well, which I think is it's a tough wave to surf backside.
I'll tell you one thing I don't like about the Eddie that makes me sad and mad about the Eddie is, and I get it, I get that protection is super important and that our advances in big wave protective wear has probably saved multiple surfers' lives. That this is no joke. I'm not out there surfing it. And, me to sit on the couch and say, you guys look like weirdo stuffed animals with your giant hip protectors, your puffy chest pads, and your giant humpbacks. Like, you don't look sexy. You don't look cool. All of you look like beanie babies. Like, where times past, there was still the Eddie. When Kelly surfed it, everybody was in slim trim, either a wetsuit top or I don't know, spring suit or something. But there was no, like, they honestly look like super, super hippie. Like they had BBLs and they're wearing football pads where I just can't get over how bad they look.
That is such a funny take. I'll go the opposite way and say they look like gladiators doing battle with the ultimate foe. And or the other detail here is they're going in a way that they probably weren't going before. Like they're doing more death-defying things because of it.
I would say I would make the argument that yes, I at Jaws or other waves at Nazare, other waves that would have been deemed not only unpaddleable but unsurfable. I would get, okay, these waves require a different kind of thing. But when you see the Edward himself surfing at Waimea naked, uh, and then you look at these guys all puffed up like the Marshmallow Man, it just it's a difficult visual for me to take. And I understand. I'm not calling any of them babies. I'm not saying anything about it. I'm saying these are advancements and we are lucky to have them. I'm also saying it looks horrible.
You know who is the closest in lineage to the Edward being naked is Ross Clark Jones.
Ross Clark Jones. Did you see the photo? Derek put it on Beach Grit of after he almost lacerated his hand off, him smoking a ciggy while it's getting repaired.
And drinking a
Uh,
beer.
he drinking a beer is an iconic image, and I wouldn't know how in the world you could go hack darts and hold your breath and take hold downs out there.
That's the only way you could do it, actually.
I mean, I guess that both Ross Clark Jones and Nathan Fletcher have proven to all that cigarettes are key to expanded airways and more breath holding capacity.
He's also the only 58-year-old in the event. He's 58. He's not wearing a vest. All that stuff that you're talking about, he was not wearing.
Was he not? That was just his body? I thought he was
That was
wearing a vest too.
That's just his body now. Um, but that guy is
An
he
animal.
he's a vestige of the past. You know what I mean? Like he is the man's man. It's
It's
incredible.
many, many years ago. I will not name either company nor executive, but there was an executive at a company uh, who really was fascinated about by Ross Clark Jones. This is like, I don't know, probably 13 years ago, let's say. Fascinated by Ross Clark Jones. And so had developed a movie that was like a fictionalized version of Ross Clark Jones character. And he wanted help on it. And I can't remember why the help needed to be in Morocco, but he flew me to Morocco. So I was holed up like in an epic Moroccan hotel for a week, working on this script, like kind of rewriting the script, and yeah, nothing ever came of it. I think I must have done a poor job. But uh, at the time, I was like, when I was working, I was like, yeah, Ross Clark Jones is, I guess, cool, but I wouldn't necessarily pick him as the character in surfing to fictionalize and glamorize. Boy, was I wrong. These Since then, I'm like, Ross Clark Jones is the only one. I don't know how there's not only a Ross Clark Jones biopic, but multiple Ross Clark Jones like hero spinoffs. He could have his
Totally.
own Marvel universe, the Ross Clark Jones universe.
I think people have tried. There's versions of it that exist, and they get more of it in Australia than we do here. There was a series that he did, I want to say with Tom Carroll, that was like Chasing Big Waves that
Yeah, I
ran
remember
somewhere.
that.
And then he was on Survivor or some version of Survivor in
Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean,
they've,
I need more though. I need like the Timothy Chalamet version of Ross Clark Jones.
I agree with you. Like I think that there's a reason why. I think like people like Ross Clark Jones are too unwieldy to
Yeah,
really like work with a producing team and like all that kind of stuff to connect the dots for an extended period of time. Like he will always be off. He'll disappear. He won't show up for the shoot. He's going to be off somewhere with it chasing a swell.
that's okay. He just needs to sign his life's rights over to a good production team.
Yeah.
Like, take a good cut off that Ross Clark Jones. You lived it, but sign it over and let like a proper storytelling team really get in. Not just anyone. I would want like only the very best. I mean, just do it with stinking whatever. Who's the Mad Max director? Miller,
Yeah, George.
George Miller. Do it with George Miller. Australian. Do it Mad Maxy.
He is basically Mad Max.
He is. He's Mad
Yeah.
Max on the water.
So it made me realize this is exactly fits into making me realize that Eddie is the greatest sporting event, period, full stop, like on the planet. But part of the reason why is whenever you try to do a surf contest and you start layering on these bureaucratic kind of rules and things that need to happen and permits, blah, blah, it dilutes the essence of surfing. And the essence of surfing, in the essence of surfing, professionals don't win.
Yeah,
There's like the professional element actually undermines the essence of surfing. And so this event is so well conceived of where it's like there's this surf spot that doesn't always break. We need massive swell. And when it does, it's not perfect. You know, Jaws is perfect and you sit in a location and the wave breaks the same way in the same location. This, it's like there's flare ups, there's backwash, there's rocks on either side. So you can always see white water just like spewing into the air. There's refractions. Even when a wave comes that looks like it's going to be a perfect one, it lurches, it might barrel, it might not, you know, like all of the unpredictability of it. And then who are the cast of characters? Well, who spends time out there? Who dedicates their life to that wave? And put him in the lineup next to John Florence, who's the greatest surfer in the world. They can beat John in this scenario. And so it makes it so all of the drama is built in. Like you can't get this anywhere else. Even if you try to script it, you can't get it anywhere else because the storyline of Luke Shepherdson, the lifeguard on duty, winning last year, seems like out of a fairy tale and you can never replicate that. Except this year, we have a version of it that's equally as interesting, fascinating, sentimental, all of it. It is the ultimate in surfing.
You're exactly right. I think one of the other things that, I mean, surfing should really and should have forever ago really taken a hard look in the mirror and said, you know what? We're not actually a league, and there's no feeder system up into this league. There's no major leagues and minor leagues. What there is exactly as you stated, a cast of characters. And what we need to do is be smart about who we pick to surf, figure out the tour that way. Where the fact that it's an invitational, that you don't get to serve little eddies and then get up and serve the eddy, right? Like you have to be and I'm sure there's some politics at play. I'm sure somebody gets in because slight politics, but it doesn't feel that there's usually outcry at the Eddie invitational list like there was, say, at the just past Pipe Masters, where Vans tried to shoehorn a bunch of Vans riders in doing so, leaving out, actual pipe masters and then getting in trouble and having to capitulate. Where, again, I'm not in backroom Eddie discussions or frustrations about who's there and who's not, but those generally don't bubble into the public. Where if you had people at each wave deciding who are the best people on this wave, and that was professional surfing around the world, and then maybe you do have somebody who I think people who what are able to do more like Gabriel Medina or John Florence, or there's a handful, right, that are really battling for the title because they actually surf each wave in the world as good as it can be surfed.
Yeah. But what's amazing about surfing itself is that the local charger can also, on that day, beat Michael Jordan.
I mean, especially at Waimea, like you already hit it, but the fact that it doesn't do the same thing.
Right. I mean, remember there was a movie, a Mark Wahlberg movie. I never saw it, but it was like about some has-been plumber who like tried out for a pro NFL
Hockey,
team and then made
NFL, yeah,
and he made the team, and then like I don't know if he was a superstar on the team or not, but it was a pretty underdog story. That happens in surfing every single day.
yeah, it's
And
true.
and so whether it's just the big swell event at your local spot that the local charger dominated that day or whatever, or on the world stage here at the Eddy, we see it happen. That's what makes surfing great. So phenomenal event, and congratulations to all the organizers and the sponsors and the surfers who really, really elevate up.
All of them. I mean, from Landon McNamara to Jamie O'Brien to Nathan Florence. Nathan Florence was so close to a wild three-peat of a weekend or of a whatever, winning the Pipe Masters, like had a real shot. I thought for sure he was the surfer to beat at one point during the day.
Um, did you see Mason Ho's backwash explosion?
Yes, that Mason is so fun to watch out there. Like I love watching guys at Waimea who you have a picture in your head of, like, Mason, it's like funny surfing kind of like I like watching him surf. I don't think he's a funny surfer, but I mean, I guess he is also a funny surfer, but like novelty kind of riding waves over rocks and stuff like that. But then you see him just charging but with the kind of exuberance and flair that you would expect from Mason O. Like there's something funny about Waimea of you can really bring your personality as a surfer to it. I don't think very many waves on earth allow you to showcase your personality as much as Waimea does.
And he's specifically modeling a lot of what he's doing off of his dad intentionally. Like he'll
Yes.
do like an extended look down at his feet and then like do a bottom turn,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
that's a Michael Ho thing. And I don't think Mason needs to do it. It's just an homage, but he's doing it on a 40-foot wave.
But I love the homage. I mean, the fact that his Instagram handle is still whatever Coco and M for the for the barrel killer is like his whole thing is homage to family.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he could just wrench the limelight directly at him
Yeah,
and
just the
just be the
Mason O show.
Mason. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's like kind of deflecting constantly.
Yep.
But he's so charismatic that you just have to stare, you know.
Yeah.
But that backwash thing was like unbelievable, the biggest backwash I've ever seen somebody ride into. And at any point, he should have gotten ejected before he got to it.
Yeah.
But it comes with such speed and ferocity. Like it enters, obviously, we're just going off a camera angle, but the way that it comes into the frame, you're like, it's as big as the wave that he's riding, if not
Yes.
bigger, maybe. It's crazy.
It's insane. I love, oh man, talk about why all day. Love when they're trying to link it through to the shore break. That's always fun. Like, I don't know any other wave like that we get to watch where it's the, is it going to actually link up? They've had
Right.
their ride. Is it going to link up? And if it does link up, what are they going to do? Are they going to go Bruce irons in the shore break? Are they going to bail before? Are they going to, what's this exclamation going to be?
They can't bail before. I mean, the crowd demands it now. That's the
Yeah,
thing is once you're aiming that way, then it's like if you actually chickened out in the shore break, you're gonna never hear the end of it.
man, just think though, I wonder how many of them are in that lull zone and the wave is still going and they're still getting pushed, thinking, please don't link up, please don't link to the inside. Or if they know, link up. I mean, of course they think link up. They're all out there in the first place. There's not one
Yeah.
ounce of fear, or all the fear is so buried. They're just like, give me my glory moment.
The problem is it doesn't always barrel once you
Yeah.
get to the inside. So like you might just get, the wave just might detonate on you, but you won't get a chance to get the glory shot.
I remember as a younger man when the Bruce movie came out and that shore break shot of him, I would just replay over and over and over again his Eddie Wave.
Yeah, because he's looking at the beach when he pulls into it too.
Yep.
So yeah, stellar event. Congrats to all the right up there with that image is now Ross Clark Jones is cemented where his hand is he had 30 stitches in his hand.
Yeah.
So he's on the beach getting medical attention with a big bloody stump, just smoking on ciggies with a beer.
So good.
The best. Speaking of smoking on ciggies with a beer, wife beater. Um, we had a don't say gay about wife beater, and some new submissions came in last night. One of them, or not last night, but throughout the week. Wife pleaser. And this comes from live from New York and listening to fashion podcasts. So I guess in the fashion world, they've been trying to rebrand it, and wife pleaser is the current front runner.
Okay, I get behind this. I get behind a movement that is already happening. It's so hard to change words as is, where if there is a movement, I'm happy to hitch our cart to that cart, wife pleaser.
The problem I have with wife pleaser is you think an awful lot of yourself if you're like, I'm pleasing my wife. You know what I mean? Like, let your wife decide and dictate whether or not that's happening. And it seems like you're trying too hard to
Well,
rebrand this.
I hear you, but oftentimes in film, yes, the man wearing the ribbed undershirt, tank top, is abusive. But before he abuses, usually he's fixing stuff around the house. He's under the car fixing the car. He's like doing this. That's all that stuff pleases the wife. The work that gets done before the beating is pleasing.
Okay, maybe. So I guess that's the front runner currently. The other ones that came through was Life Beater.
Okay.
Uh,
Like it.
it's got a ring. It's got the same ring to it as Wife
Yeah.
Beater, and it's the problem for me with that one is it would indicate that you are beating life, meaning you're doing really good at life, you're killing it. Whereas I think if you're actually wearing that shirt, life is beating you.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Maybe we go that direction and
Yeah.
figure out a catchy phrase that has to do with life beating you.
Life beating you. Yeah. Okay. Like it.
The other one that came in as a listener call, I'm not going to play, but he calls it the Billy Kemper because not to imply that Billy Kemper abuses anybody, but he wears that shirt.
Okay. Man, the calling it the Billy Kemper really loads it up with in 20 years or 30 years, people will have to sit around if that catches on and have to figure out how to change it away from the Billy Kemper.
Exactly. And wonder who Billy Kemper was.
Yeah.
Who was this Billy Kemper guy?
Billy Kemper is, I mean, I was in the comment live chat for the YMAO, and the amount of, and maybe it's just a beach grit thing, maybe it's just the beach grit community, but the amount of vitriol against Billy Kemper it was just nonstop. Like, I'm happy for anyone to win this event, but Billy Kemper, on and on and on and on.
I know it's funny. I think we had very little to do with it by taking phone calls and emails from people who had bad experiences with him. I think it all existed prior to us. And then yeah, it's not just us. I mean, it is a thing for sure.
Yeah, but people don't, for whatever reason, don't like Billy Kemper is going to need his biopic. Oh, oops, he already had it. Thanks, Elo.
Elo got it entirely wrong too. How's that?
Yeah.
Um, one other email that came through from a listener about last week entitled Hide Your Kids. We were talking about the surf coach who's busted and for sex crimes against children in Australia. Emailed in and he said, regarding surf coach getting arrested for sexual abuse, one of my best friends is an FBI agent that has worked child crimes for the past 20 years. I've heard a ton of messed up stories. The lesson is your kid is way more likely to be abused by someone you know than by somebody in a creepy van. Your kid's uncle, coach, youth group leader, these people are good at acting like good people. And then just to get access to your kids. And my friend has busted a lot of outstanding citizens like teachers, coaches, religious figures, fire captains, military officers. He's also convinced that if someone has a Star Wars collectibles in their house, then they are probably guilty of something. Seems to be a thing. Merry Christmas, Craig.
Guess who has all his Star Wars toys on the shelf at home?
Who?
This guy right here.
Do you really?
Yeah, I had like the full collection of Star Wars toys as a kid. They were my favorite toys as a kid. And I had them in the Darth Vader carrying head. Did you ever have Star Wars?
Hell no.
Oh man, yeah. Like I had them all and in the Star Wars Darth Vader carrying head. And then I was gonna give it away at some point, and my mom said, absolutely not. Uh, and tucked it away. And then when I moved here, they brought it down and I think I was going to give it away again. And she said, no. And so I just put the Star Wars head on the giant bookshelf. But it is the joy and FBI is going to be knocking on my door any minute now. But
Especially with the admission.
anytime little, like, I don't know, it's an age range. It's like a 4-year-old to a 6-year-old kid comes over for, I don't know, friends or cousin or nephews or whoever. They go straight to that, and that is entertainment for ever. Like the old funky, totally played through toys.
I think you've already defined yourself as different. I think you letting kids play with it is already, well, actually, that might be the
Exactly.
bait. That is the
Exactly.
bait. But the version that I'm thinking of is the
Has them.
collectible guy who doesn't play with it. Like they're
Yeah.
still in packages and he's adding to the collection at every new drop, kind of a thing.
Yeah. No, that's not me. Mine is just pure little, hey kid, want to play with my Star Wars?
I'll let you feel. I'm not even going to try to tamper this one for you. You're doing this to yourself. But I like that the sentiment of the call is be wary of those around you
I
is
mean, that's
is
the
the
truth.
truth. Yeah.
That is the absolute truth.
It's a cliche for a reason, I'm afraid. Remember we were talking about ways to milk the clock
Yes.
for a couple of weeks in a row?
Wait, are
Um,
we done with Don't Say Gay?
no, I got a couple others I could do.
Okay,
Why, do you
good.
have one?
I had one more, and the one that came through, I think to both of us in the DMs, was it Irish Car Bomb?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Irish car bomb.
Irish Car Bomb was a solid offering, I thought.
It is
Yeah.
an excellent offering. What do you have a take on this?
Well, I was just thinking about it because the best part about the Don't Say Gay is at first blush, you're like, what are you talking about? There's nothing offensive about that. And then you pause for 1 second and realizing how offensive. Imagine you're at a bar and you're a Irishman or woman, you lived in Belfast, and your family was taken out by a car bomb. And now people are like dropping shots into beer and Irish car bomb, boom. Like how it would just wrench your guts, right?
You would
Where
think, yeah.
I don't know if we have to deal with this one right now. I just thought it was a good offering.
No, it's a great offering. I think we should actually address it. So, the Irish Car Bomb, also known as the Irish Slammer, it sounds like they're already trying to rebrand it,
Yeah.
or the Dublin Drop, is similar to a Boilermaker made by dropping a bomb shot of Irish cream and Irish whiskey into a glass of Irish stout. So, officially, that's what the drink is.
Have you ever had an Irish car bomb?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I don't think I like the anything you have to drop into another drink and then drink fast. I'm poor at. I've never learned how to chug or anything like that, so it's just a mess.
Totally agree. I'm not going to slam a shot glass into your teeth as well. Like all of it sounds like a disaster. My idea of having a cocktail or a drink is sipping it and taking it easy. I don't need to
Yeah,
add this shenanigan into the mix. But in terms of whether or not it's offensive and should be rebranded, I'm first of all a little shocked that the Irish were so good at car bombing that they became branded with it because I'm pretty sure a lot of other cultures and ethnicities bombed cars.
I think it was early innovation because this would have been during the Troubles. So this is like 70s, 60s ish, I feel, maybe into the 80s. But I don't know that people were really doing, I mean, of course, the truck bombs and whatnot in Beirut back in, I think that was 1980, that was right, killed all the US Marines there. Um, I think the Irish did it really, or not the Irish, the IRA did it in unique and interesting ways somehow that allowed them to be branded with it.
What about all the mafia's work? Any mafia movie from New York that you watch from that same era, they're taking people out with car bombs.
That's true. Yeah, the Irish. What did they do? Well, we're gonna have to get to the bottom of this because if the Irish were truly innovative in their car bombs, then I think the moniker has to stand. It's I'm sorry to the deceased, to those who lost family via terrorism, but they were good at their jobs.
The mafia car bomb, it could be like amaretto into a glass of
Red
red
wine.
wine or something,
That'd
into
be
a glass of
foul.
Moretti or
Yeah.
Peroni. Um, so what about just the simple rebrand that Google has already offered up, which is an Irish slammer or an Irish bomb shot or the Dublin drop?
I don't know though. The problem, see, and this is when the Don't Say Gay segment becomes essential, is we have to figure out if something sounds so linguistically good that it is elevated above hurt feelings or damaged cause.
Right, right,
Where
right.
to me, the Irish car bomb is such a cool phrase that I'm gonna let it stand.
Yeah, I don't. The thing, my problem with this is I don't really care about the drink.
Yeah. So you're don't care either way.
If it all goes away tomorrow, I'm fine with it.
Well, here's another one then. Have you ever eaten tri-tip from Cardiff's famed seaside market?
Yes.
What do they call that?
Cardiff crack.
Cardiff crack. Is it okay to call a food crack? A wildly addictive drug that has devastated not hundreds, not thousands, probably millions of lives, like families utterly gutted, and people lining up at the store thinking, this meat is so good. It's like crack. You take one bite, you need another bite.
These fancy millionaires are so disconnected from the bottom rung of society that they're just poking them in the eye. They're
Yep.
like, we're buying our $40 a pound meat because we've got money to waste and making fun of you while we eat it.
It's so tasty that I can't stop eating. That's like you guys, huh? You have one hit of that crack pipe and you can't stop. That's like me and this meat.
Um, yeah, that's amazing. And the other detail here is the Irish bomb was not branded or the wife beater not branded by a company or a brand. It just became society's name for this thing. You have a company in that scenario that branded it as crack,
So
branded it as Cardiff crack.
here's the thing. I've been observing. I've been on the front lines observing the Cardiff crack phenomenon since so I first got to Cardiff, right? wife lived here, I moved in. It was like one of the early meals down here, of course, for anyone who is, and for anyone not from North County, San Diego, who has no idea what we're talking about, is literally tri-tip that I think they roll it in something like it gets tenderized in like a drum, and they pour in, what is it, like wine, and it's some seasoned whatever tri-tip.
Marinade, yeah.
Yeah, it's like some marinated thing that's tenderized, so whatever. I don't know if it's proprietary or what. But so had it, thought, oh, this is great, and everybody, oh, let's go get a pound of go get a pound of crack, or let's have crack for dinner tonight, or and it's all fine and good. So I was down there at the store, and it used to say Cardiff crack just on the in the deli or whatever meat place, meat counter. What do you call that?
Yeah.
Meat counter.
Yeah, meat
Uh,
care.
So, and then at some point, I think somebody got wise that, "Ooh, we can't do this." And so then it was just Burgundy tri-tip is what replaced it. And so it was like Burgundy tri-tip. And the sales must have gone down because now it says, I think it says Burgundy tri-tip above, and then the original Cardiff Crack TM below it. So I think they're trying to soften it. We're not going to call it this, but you guys used to call it this, and we just had to trademark.
Yeah. Yeah, the Burgundy tri-tip is not proprietary, and it's actually like it's so generic that it doesn't even do anything for their branding.
No.
Um, it doesn't distinguish their product as different than anybody else's. And theirs is different, by the way. Like I've had lots of different tri-tip. Santa Maria is famous for tri-tip. The Cardiff Crack's better than all of it.
Cardiff Crack really is good.
Yeah,
But yeah, there we go.
that's
So
funny.
throwing both out to the listener, Car Bomb, Car Bomb or Crack. Do they stand? I'm saying yes on one. I'm saying yes on the other, but know that you are mocking uh millions of families.
So you're keeping Irish car bombs, and I'm going to decline to care.
Okay, good.
Not about the families who suffered, but about the
Yeah,
drink itself and the branding of it. Like I feel
great.
okay changing it to the Dublin drop as far as I'm concerned. I've got a phone call here from Emily on the North Shore that directly relates to this food conversation that we're having.
Hey, David, Lee, and Chaz. It's Emily. I'm on the North Shore right now, gearing up to go to the Eddy. But I have a very important question for you. When you go to a party and you bring in excess and you're leaving, do you take the leftover stuff with you or do you leave it at the party? In my situation last night was at a holiday party, brought 3 bottles of pretty nice wine. 2 of them got consumed. And when I was leaving, I really wanted to take the last bottle of wine home, but I didn't want it to be tacky, so I just left it there. But I'm still thinking about it. What do you guys think? Work.
This feels to me like a mission. Um, do you remember the movie Sideways,
Yes.
where the one of the dudes like has sleeps with a waitress and leaves his wallet behind, and then they wake up in the morning and they have to create a mission to go back and sneak into the house to get his wallet without the husband knowing that
Yes.
he's there. This is what Emily should have been doing the next day.
So here's exactly, and Emily, great question. Something that I think the ones that come up like this are the best. I feel that people have thought internally about for a long time, but there's no place or time to ever discuss it openly and come to a general consensus about what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
When it comes to food, bringing food and then taking home food, that one's easy. I think that one is at the bequest of the host. So if you're like, hey, David Lee made a lasagna, brought over the lasagna. Do you guys want this? Or should I take it home? Just, is your fridge going to be too full already? What do you want here with food? Right. Emily pinpointed exactly the problem is alcohol. And I'm going to say either opened or unopened bottles where there is excess, right? Like if you bring a bottle of Grey Goose over, say, people are making martinis, let's say it got half drunk, and there is your half bottle of Grey Goose just sitting on the bar cart. Uh, I'm going to go war between host and guest at this point, but Sneaky, sneaky war. Host should want to keep that. Guests should want to take it. Who can get the upper hand in either taking or getting? Because you got to do it sly. Host can move the bar further across the room as the evening goes. Host can take the extra bottles and put them in the garage because, oh, I'll go get them when it's time to get them, right? Guest should be sneakily looking around, moving it into their purse by the door, but hidden under a sweatshirt. Like this should be a game of cat and mouse between host and guest, winner take all.
Yeah, I mean, if Emily could have pulled it off with nobody knowing, then it's not tacky.
It's not tacky at all. The host doesn't remember. Uh, and I feel in this scenario, I'm sure Emily did not present the wine as a gift. I'm sure Emily
Oh yeah, that's
came in and
different.
said, I brought a couple at most would have said, I brought a couple bottles of wine. Where should I put them? Right. So it's not like here's my gift of wine. If you present your thing as a gift, then
Yeah.
I think you screwed yourself. You gotta leave it. You already present it as a gift. If you don't present as a gift and just say you brought something, then you are free to take that thing as well.
That's so it sounds like Emily was in a scenario where it was like, oh, we should contribute something to the party. And then she ends up at the party and there's a lot of um, uncertainty. It's kind of like, oh, there's just a bunch of wine out on the table. It's not going to get drunk anyways. The host's not going to know that this came from me. So if it's going to fall on deaf ears, I want to take it back with me. That's kind of the scenario. So it is almost a case by case basis. Who's throwing the party? What's the vibe? And can I get away with it or not is also the other thing here. But if you think the host appreciates wine and would like the gift, by all means, leave it behind. Like I know they're not going to drink it right now, but maybe tomorrow night or down the road, they'll drink it and they'll appreciate it. Then I'll leave it behind. But if I feel like they don't drink alcohol or whatever it happens to be, and this is just going to fall on deaf ears and it's going to sit around on top of their refrigerator in the heat for the next 2 years, I'm taking that with me. It's my responsibility to save that thing.
I'm saying though, more than that, even if the host would love it, even if the host, it's like, would enjoy it to perfection the next day. You get that wine out of there. If you can get it out, and even if the host calls, hey, I saw you brought a bottle of X. I can't seem to find it. I was so looking forward to having that today. Deny, deny, deny. So, boy, really? Wow, yeah. Sorry, I no idea. Never cop to stealing it. This is highly clandestine. You are a super spy at this point. You do not get caught.
What if the only other option is consuming it all by yourself here or leaving it behind?
Man, I
Start
mean,
chugging.
I think that like as discussed with the Irish car bomb, chugging ain't no fun never. Like, don't chug that thing. If it's between that or leaving, I say leave. I say soldier left behind. But you've got to up your game. You got to figure out how to sneakily get that bottle
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. Bring the appropriate purse and or jacket with plenty of space.
Yep.
Create a diversion tactic. You might want to map this out with your partner in advance before you enter the premises. Have an escape route. You might want a little schematic of the layout of their house. I'm not going to
I've
tell you
s-
how to do it, but
I've fully seen it go the other way where somebody will loudly announce, hey, I'm gonna take this back home, like, my bottle. And that is always a buzzkill. Like, even if nobody really cares, like, okay, cheapo, like, what's your deal? I mean, it never ever looks good. It never looks like, hey, I'm gonna do you guys a favor and take what I brought with me.
this, I literally did this on Christmas night.
Sneaky?
I, it's funny. This call rang true as soon as I listened to it. We were at Lauren's parents' house. So that's the other scenario is like, it wasn't really a party. It was just family. And so, who's who and what's what and what they're going to drink and what they're not, that sort of thing. So I didn't feel too badly about it.
Heard before that your mother-in-law only drinks, is it Chardonnay from Paso Robles?
Rombauer is the producer. They're in Napa. Yeah. She
Yeah,
only
no.
drinks Rombauer Chardonnay. It is such a cliche of a housewife and she nails it. So they don't drink gin. And I'm down for a martini on a special occasion, right? And so I figured out like the best gin for a martini is Ford's uh, English gin. And so I bring a bottle. I had a bottle of Ford's, already half drunk, so just like an open bottle that I brought. Made a martini while I was there, cooked dinner for everybody, and then when I was leaving, with a kid, you have so many things. It's like the iPad, the bag of this, the bag of that. And then Lauren brought some out. I brought some stuff out. And I get to the car and I'm like, oh, shoot, there's a bottle of gin in their freezer right now. And like, can I run back in the house and grab a bottle of gin? They're going to notice, obviously, but they're never going to drink that gin. Like, it's totally going to be wasted. It's just going
You're
to sit
in
in
the
the freezer
scenario
forever.
right here.
Yeah, I was in the exact scenario. So, with the kid already strapped into the car seat, I ran back into the house, and thankfully people were kind of moving around. It wasn't just like, oh, David's back. I was able to sneak in, and then I noticed one or two other things that we had forgotten behind. So I made it look like I was here to grab that, tucked the gin under my arm like a football, so where they couldn't fully see the bottle, and then held out front these other two, things, kids things. There's just like, all right, you guys, I'll see you later. Merry Christmas. Ran out the door. They were none the wiser.
Perfect. See, that is execution. That is, I mean, that right there. Bravo, David Lee Scales.
Thanks.
You did it exactly right.
Thanks. Yeah. The worst version of all of this is the food version where somebody brings Tupperware containers to a public event or party with planning to take all of the planning to take leftovers that they didn't even bring. So it'd be one thing if you brought your own dish and there's half of it's uneaten and it's your own dish and you need to get this dish back to your house. This is the scenario that I've seen happen once and I've heard about happening at other times where people bring additional Tupperware just to clean up.
To scoop up. That's
Yeah.
not cool.
How crazy is that? The one time I saw it done, I still think about that dude to this day. I still think about what a not scumbag, but douche that guy is to
He's a
this
crack
day.
smoker is what he was. Out
Totally.
smoking crack on the
Yeah,
streets, stealing food. I'll tell you the
exactly.
other, not as bad as that, but the other thing that very much annoys at a party is the somebody who brings uh whatever food stuff in a fussy dish that they want back, or going to need back at some point. And so then it is incumbent upon you, once the evening is done, guests go home, but I got this stinking dish. Got to figure out how to get the food out of there. You got to wash that thing. You got to not lose it, not break it, and figure out how to deliver it back to the original owner. Where the chore now on somebody bringing food to your house is times X what it would have been to just make that thing yourself.
Totally. This is a real important tool to live by. Thank you, Vayer Watches. Um, if somebody's doing the honor of hosting, you as the guest need to collect your stuff because the host gets left one spatula, one pot holder, a plate, a dish. And at the end of it, it's like, I don't know where all this stuff goes. You have to send a group text message with a photograph and be like, who is all this stuff? And now what's worse is these people have to show up tomorrow or the next day and you have to have the small talk 10 minutes of like, hey, that was a fun holiday party. Anyways, what are you guys doing? But no, it's a waste of everybody's time.
You got extra, like the one thing I think the last thing the host needs is more dishes to wash at the
Yeah.
end of it. That is the absolute last thing, to leave more dishes to wash and
Yeah.
then more chores to do. Host has already hosted. Host has done his or her job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great advice. I want to play this listener call that came in a while back from Johnny Utah. Johnny Utah's called in the past, and Johnny Utah is calling about milking the clock. We said there's probably some good milking the clock stories out there. Well, here's one of them.
David, Chad, this is Johnny Utah. It's been a minute since I called in, but after the last episode, had to call in on this one. Like your previous caller, my second job as a youth was also a grocery bagger. And as a young 17-year-old, my normal shift, I would go in and either bag groceries or get my hour shift to go collect carts, and I've always appreciated your guys' takes on that. But today's story is more about the greatest milking of the clock I think I've ever done in my life. One day I came in, and it was around this time of year, the cusp of Christmas, and the store manager informed me that she had a task for me that day, and explained to me that they had a bunch of seasonal items on top of the freezer aisle, on top of the freezer specifically, that needed to be brought down, and they needed me to go up to the top of there and assemble several fake Christmas trees that they were going to sell. So I climb up on top of this freezer aisle and discover that the previous items that had been up there were, lawn chairs and summer goods. And I start to assemble some of the Christmas trees when I come to the realization that I had been gifted the most beautiful opportunity to milk the clock in my life. Being on top of the freezer aisle, I was out of the view of said manager, and I began to assemble the trees into my own private forest, took one of the old summer lounge chairs, leaned it back, and took the most glorious nap out of view of cameras or store managers or even pesky customers for who knows how long. Probably woke up somewhere in there, decided to finish my job, and came back down, but what a glorious time to just stick it to the man. And I know I've become that proverbial man, but I look back on those days very fondly. And every time I walk into a grocery store, I always look up on top of those freezer aisles just to see if any young youths are doing the same as their predecessors did. That's it. Keep up the work, and vaya con Dios.
Zoom did not want the powers that be, the Mark Zuckerbergs, the real men out there, the real mans, did not want that story told.
Let's presume it all is still intact, but how good is that?
Such a great story and inspirational. I feel that as I was listening, because I don't know that the youth of today, they have their TikToks and their different ways of thinking. I don't know if they know the art of milking the clock, because there's always, I don't know, entertainment everywhere or whatever, right? And there's nothing is as satisfying as what Johnny Utah described about basically making a forest for yourself and taking a nap on work, where I feel today's kid would go into a corner and get out his phone and slump and look over it and scroll. That is not, Johnny Utah woke up feeling like $1 trillion. You never feel like $1 trillion because you've stolen a little bit of time scrolling.
Can you imagine though, on top of the freezer aisle when he's doing the job and he looks around and has the realization, nobody's tracking my time now, because this is a job that doesn't normally need to be done. It's not like, oh, that's going to take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Come back and do the carts. You're essentially, nobody's paying attention, but nobody can see me up here now. And your thought is, what can I get away with? I could probably get away with a nap. And then being able to shut your body down enough in a public place to be able to sleep while you're up there.
Great. Johnny
It's
Utah.
incredible.
It makes me honestly want to compile a children's book, children's picture book with stories of epic milkings of the clock, epic tales of milking the clock.
I would also like to do another book, which is epic nappings, because I was shocked that he could pull off sleeping on top of a freezer in a public space, even just getting your body to shut down that way. But then I realized, I think the best naps I've ever had are in public places, like maybe on the beach or along a pool at a hotel, kind of a thing, So for some reason, sleeping out in the open is deeper than sleeping by yourself in the dark.
I think at some point too, and because rarely are you home near bedroom with time to spare when you get really hit with that exhaustion where you honestly could fall asleep right then and right there, right? I used to teach English at night, and sometimes before, I think class must have started at 6. Sometimes at 4:30 or 5, I would just get that punch of exhaustion right in the face and go sit in my truck and take a 20-minute nap. And those things were deeper and more powerful than any nap before or since.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But I could see sitting up there doing that work, getting punched with the exhaustion and just thinking, I can actually take care of this right now.
Yeah. It's the common denominator is somewhere you shouldn't be napping.
Yes.
You shouldn't be napping in a car. Car was not designed for napping, that's for sure. But for some reason, if you're napping where you shouldn't be napping, it's exotic, and that plays into the deepness of the sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to know if Johnny Utah is the only human being on the planet who's ever slept on top of a freezer aisle in a grocery store.
Yeah. I mean, I love our grocery store worker or ex-workers here on the grit. Uh, because I feel that there is, I mean, so we get so many stories. So I would
I know.
imagine, or like putting it out there, any other ex-grocery store or current grocery store worker who has slept on top of the freezer.
If you're out there, please reach out. I need
Yep.
to know. And I'm gonna
Yep.
I'm gonna link you up with Johnny Utah. You guys can share stories.
Yeah. It's good.
What kind of dreams would you have when you're up there?
Man, good
So
ones.
much to know. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to commercial break, and we'll be back with pretty epic barrel or not. I must say myself. Chaz, welcome back to the show.
Man, did you have any post-Christmas blues in your house?
No, I guess I had to tell Austin that Christmas is a day and that day is over. In his mind, it's just like this ongoing concept, like he started seeing Christmas lights a month ago, how inflatables in people's yards. And so it was all Christmas. And then when I was like, no, tomorrow's Christmas, he's like, what? I'm like, tomorrow's actually Christmas Day. And then the next day being like, having to
It's
tell
over.
him it's over. I didn't tell him the next day, but I did. There was a conversation we had where I had to tell him like it's all going to be over the next day or everybody's going home or whatever. And he was very confused.
Yeah, I'll tell. That's the planted the seeds of post-Christmas blues when everybody gets so up for it, and then next day everybody kind of mopes around in a vague, sad fog.
That's what's nice though about New Year's Eve is you kind of set your sights on that and you're like, okay, I don't really have to work that hard between now and then we can party then and then figure out what life looks like after that.
Yeah, New Year's Eve is not that big a deal. I mean, it's not something you're going to really get excited about. So when that ends, the only bleakness is staring into the frozen tundra of February, March, April, most of May, until you can finally start thinking about, oh, okay, we got summer coming up now.
Except we are providing really exciting opportunity for people in January
It's
that they can look forward
exactly
to.
what you need.
January 21st, Tuesday, doors open at 7 p.m. Come hang out with Rusty, Taylor Knox, Chas Smith, JoJo Roper, and myself.
It's going to be the exact antidote to anecdote, not anecdote, antidote.
Antidote.
Antidote is what it's going to be to that funky post-holiday season sadness.
It's going to be the best. The Belly Up in Solana Beach is where we're doing our live podcast. Tickets are $25. Go buy them now. Space is limited. It's seated, so it is limited. And so you do not want to wait. I guess the bulk of ticket sales, as I've learned, happen in the last week or two. Don't wait until the last week or two because you might not be able to get a ticket. So get your tickets now, plan ahead, and we're going to have Talk Story with Rusty and Taylor Knox and JoJo Roper. JoJo was just competing in the Eddie, and then the next day he was at Mavericks getting the biggest Mavericks that's ever existed. And so fresh off that, he'll be there to talk story and board design and go through footage.
And also, lest you forget, surfboard giveaway. So even if you're not that interested in hearing about the story, even if you don't want to see your wonderful friends, there's only a limited amount of tickets, $25. You have the best shot ever, probably in raffle history to win a surfboard.
Totally. And our good friends at Weekend Vans are giving away 4 tickets, 2 pairs of 2. Go to weekendvans.com/surf to get in on that. And I think they're going to pick the winner January 8th or so. I'll just look it up real quick.
Elvis Presley's birthday.
Is it really?
January 8th is.
I did not know that. Okay, January 10th is when they're picking it. Sorry, Elvis. And why do you know Elvis Presley's birthday?
Uh, Daughter is Jan 9, and I was like really hoping for Jan 8, but yeah,
Got
but
it.
Jan 9 is better as it turns out.
Okay. Well, go to weekendvans.com/surf to get in on that giveaway and then go get yourself tickets as well. Okay, barrel or not, Chaz, we've got, man, on the topic of food, we've got a listener call that I think is very helpful. This will be great advice for anybody. I can't find the call. Hold on a second. Hmm.
I see it. It came up for me.
What do you see?
Chopsticks.
What the heck, man?
You're close to it. Get your
Oh,
right
got
there.
it, got it,
Click.
got it, got it.
Hey, what's going on, Chaz and DLS? I was listening to your episode, and you guys brought up Chinese food, which got me thinking. I went out to a corporate lunch and got some Chinese food with some colleagues, and some of the guys and gals, had forks and spoons on request, and the rest of us used chopsticks, and it got me thinking. What's the best eating utensils in the world, and should you adapt to the cuisine that you're eating, or is it okay to kind of use a spoon for your fried rice instead of putting it in a bowl and kind of, picking it out with the chopsticks? And then I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of weird utensils out there. Even with ramen, there's that odd spoon that you can't really get your lips around, which maybe it's not even for using like a normal spoon, like a Westerner. But anyways, super random, but utensils work.
So let's just simplify this one as not using chopsticks as an adult, barrel or not.
Man, as I was listening, so I will put and this is all cuisine specific. You can't use chopsticks with your lasagna. It won't, not only will it not work, but let's even say something that it would theoretically work with. What's like chopsticks in a French fry? Uh, it would work. You could pick up a French fry with a chopstick and eat it. But the joy of chopsticks, and I'm going to say I do not like the lacquered chopsticks. Give me wooden chopsticks any day because it will soak up the flavor of your Chinese food. And that is absolute perfection. Uh, so if you don't know how to use chopsticks to eat, bites of food,
Sushi.
sushi or anything, you stop what you're doing right now, turn on YouTube, get some chopsticks and just start practicing. It is not a difficult skill. It is not my young daughter, I think she was using chopsticks efficiently and effectively at 2. Like
Yeah.
she loved sushi and was just, the little kid plastic piece came off right away. And she, as a 2-year-old or maybe 3-year-old, was able to use chopsticks to such a degree that she would get lots of, nods of approval or wows from the various Japanese or Chinese where we were eating. In any case, he brings up, though, fried rice. I'm going to say I was not born into the culture. I will eat my fried rice with a spoon. I don't have the patience or dedication or ability to eat fried rice yet with chopsticks.
Um, I'm glad that he brought this up because I am baffled when I see grown adults eating food that was meant for chopstick food with something other than
Forks.
chopsticks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would make an argument that it just tastes better. Like certain foods, I can't imagine eating sushi with a piece of metal
Yeah.
and then putting the metal in my mouth with the sushi. You know what I mean? Like it
No.
just doesn't make sense.
No.
Or almost any noodle dish.
Yeah.
Almost any noodle dish, the chopsticks are just the superior utensil. And like you said,
Because
it's not
a chow mein or whatever is not a spaghetti, right? It is
right.
a different whole flavor profile that necessity, even though you'd think, what, they're both noodles. They're not.
For some reason. It just is what it is. Like I
Yeah.
can't even define it on the podcast, but you're right. It's not a complicated thing to learn. It's not like, hey, go learn algebra to then eat this meal. No, it's actually simpler than a fork in a lot of ways. And it's actually better in a lot of ways for picking up food. And so it blows my mind that you wouldn't just take, if you're exposed to those foods with any regularity, that you wouldn't take the 13 seconds to figure out how to actually manipulate the chopsticks and hold them properly because it elevates all of the experiences. And he's right. When you're in a corporate environment and your people are supposed to respect you and take you seriously, and you pick up whatever it is, sushi is probably the best example with a fork or a spoon, you look like a child ordering a cup of milk to go with your steak dinner.
You are not to be taken seriously.
No, no. Not
But
at all.
I will say the fried rice is the one exception to the rule where don't beat them, join them at that case. You're never going to get enough. You're going to sit there and burn more calories eating fried rice, trying to do it with the chopsticks, and or if you're going to bring it to the mouth and like do the little chopstick shovel in, you're not an expert in that. And that is, I think, a born in. Eating fried rice with chopsticks is a born in skill that you were not born in. You are hapa haole at best. Take your spoon out and just enjoy that fried rice.
See, the thing, I've got a technique where I kind of mat the rice into it like a little ball or a clump, and then you could pick that up easily.
Okay, I'll try that next time.
And for the record, the ramen spoon you're not supposed to put in your mouth. You just use it to slurp. It's like almost like a little mini bowl, actually, that you just bring to your mouth and then you slurp off the edge of it.
Ramen is a tough one though. But chopsticks, good for ramen.
Exactly. Yeah, you need that thick spoon and the chopsticks together. Okay, next one's coming in directly from Matthew McConaughey, and it relates to New Year's resolutions of sorts. So,
in 1992, I wrote down a list of 10 things that I wanted out of myself in life that I did not have at the time. I never looked at that list again, thought I lost it, until I found it just a few years ago. When I read the list, I said, son of a gun, Matthew, you've actually achieved all of those things that you wrote down. So now that we're in the holiday spirit and coming across Christmas and the holiday times, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, whether you write a list to Santa about presents you want or not, write yourself a list of 10 things you want from yourself. You don't have to look at it every day, or you can. You can wrap it up and never open it. You can wrap it up and open it next year. But one day, it'll find you or you find it, open it up down the line. See if you accomplished some of those things, if you got some of those things that you wanted that you wrote down. I bet you will have. It's kind of a magic trick to write things down like that. Stick somewhere in the back of our mind in a place we don't even know, but somehow remember. So to that I say, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, ho, ho, ho.
writing a list to your future self, barrel or not?
Thanks for calling into the show first, Matthew McConaughey. I know you're a longtime listener. Glad to have you finally be a first-time caller. And I'm going to say barrel on this. I'm going to say purely not for the witchy woo-woo, not for the manifestation, not for the anything other than intentionality is good. And to, instead of just bopping through life, reacting to everything, to have some North Stars, out there, I'm going for this. And to write that down, I think, not that it puts it in the back of your mind, not that it does anything other than make you sit and think intentionally for a moment. And I think that is a huge barrel.
You're the only one who's going to read it too, which is kind of interesting. Like knowing that this is strictly for me, it allows you to be a little bit more ambitious, I think, with your whatever you're setting out, your intention.
I mean, life comes at you real fast. And if you don't stop and look around, like Ferris Bueller, if you don't actually have like a direction you're going, you will end up only reacting to everything. Every day, it's a reaction to the phone call that came in. It's a reaction to the email. React, react, react. Go on 10 years and realize, wait, I didn't direct any of this. I only reacted.
Wow. So I have a feeling if I would have just said barrel or nah, writing a letter to your future self, you might have said nah. But through the magic of McConaughey, he is gosh dang convincing.
Sure
and it's
is.
like, I'm like, did you script this? You're glancing off camera casually, but is there a script over there? Because it's just too greased.
I'll tell you, Matthew McConaughey, they should use him. I don't know if you can get over McConaughey. You very well could be, but Matthew McConaughey a couple years ago had me thinking seriously. Not that I had the money to, but had me seriously thinking about, if I need a new car, I'm really thinking about that Lincoln MK2, whatever the one he was selling. It just like legitimately, and probably I wouldn't have considered a Lincoln before, but Matthew McConaughey sitting in that Lincoln, I think he was just rambling kind of nonsense too in those commercials, if I recall. Was just like, yeah, Lincoln is now in my top 3 dream cars that I would buy if I could.
Was he also shilling Dogecoin?
Man, should have been.
Is that
Maybe
how you ended up a Doge holder?
Maybe it'd be up right now if McConaughey was spruiking it.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever he says, I'm just like, and I want to be judgmental of him. I'm like, God, this is like a caricature, right? But look at those dreamy eyes.
Look at his life. That's the thing. It's not like if it was Leonardo DiCaprio sitting, same kind of thing, not doing the McConaughey voice, but Leonardo DiCaprio sitting, phone to selfie mode, saying, guys, I was just thinking about how I got where I got in this life, and it was a long journey, and this is what I did. I would mock him and say, yeah, you are like so weird. You can't go out in public at all. You only date girls under whatever it is, 26 or whatever the age thing is. You're like so dysfunctional and bizarre. I don't want to be you at all. McConaughey, married forever, kids look good, like seems like his life is good. Saw him at a party one time. He was just dancing away, just having a good time. Like zero airs at all, just enjoying himself.
He's into surfing too.
Yeah.
And anybody I've heard who's ever interacted with him has nothing but rave reviews. So
Yep.
good on you. Yeah, I got to take that advice. I'm going to write a letter this week for a future self. I rewatched The Beach Bum last week.
It's good.
I've watched that movie, I'd say 5 times, maybe like once a year or so. It's freaking fantastic.
I got to rewatch.
And this time it hit me different. Like I saw his character entirely differently than I interpreted it from previous viewings, which makes me like validate the point of watching it over and over again.
Ain't that great when a piece of art, either literature, painting, music, film, whatever the art is, when it hits that, like where it's so nuanced that the multiple angle where you take something new out of it, those are great.
Yeah, anybody who needs a movie recommendation for New Year's or whatever, The Beach Bum, Matthew McConaughey, Jonah Hill was excellent in it.
Yep.
Isla Fisher is the female. Snoop Dogg is in it. It's really good.
Classic, a holiday classic.
I think, yeah, I have a feeling a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was fantastic.
Man, I watched Baby Girl last night. Speaking of,
how was it?
I realized I was thinking about this, pondering a lot. Buddy texted me that Conclave, Baby Girl, and The Substance these three are being called elevated trash. And as part of, obviously I've been doing trash prose my whole life. So I've just been considering elevated trash. What does this mean? How do these movies compare? And I think what it is, and Baby Girl is in this too, the idea is elevated above any story. So the idea becomes center, whatever that idea is. So Baby Girl, it's sexual power dynamics or power dynamics in general and sex, right? And yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it achieves you thinking about that idea. I don't know how great the story arc or storytelling. It feels like the stakes are pretty low, even though they should be really high. Acting is good, but yeah, it's just interesting. An interesting time in film, I think.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yep.
I've been wanting to check it out. Final Barrel or Nah, coming up to New Year's Eve, is the idea of blowing it all out on one night. And especially this is coming in, this is the ultimate too, because New Year's resolutions kick in for most people the following day. So the idea of like, I don't normally smoke cigars, but I'm smoking a cigar because it's New Year's, and I don't normally drink champagne, but I'm going to drink a bottle of champagne, plus any and all of other partying that people do. So blowing it all out.
I'm going to say barrel. I'm going to say barrel. I'm going to say you cannot plan it though. It can't be circled on the calendar. This is the day I am going to blow it out. Don't blow it out on New Year's unless you have that little voice in you that said like, okay, governor's off now, right? I think everyone, probably some people get that a lot more than others, and that's called addiction. But when your sense of like, okay, I'm going to be conservative, I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm not talking about morally here. I'm just talking about with the cigar and the just going with whatever the night holds and not holding back on it. I think that's good every once in a while, but it should not be circled. Even if you're sitting home and like it's February 14th, Oh, is that Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Sorry. If it's February 18th and you just have that wild hair, like, you know, I'm gonna go get like 8 beers after work today. Then I'm gonna take an Uber home and I'm gonna just, sit on the patio smoking cigars and watching movies and eating horrible food. And I know I'm gonna feel bad for the next week, but can't stop, won't stop at this point.
See, I think this one, part of it is the idea that tomorrow I'm giving it all up. So I need to go extra hard tonight.
Yeah.
With New Year's, that's kind of what it is. It's like, I'm going to be on a diet on Monday, so I'm going to party hard on Sunday.
Man, nothing's worse though than slipping in to your constraint than bringing in a baggage of excess. Like the constraint part is takes training. It takes like, hey, I'm tampering down, tampering down, tampering down. Now it's going to still be hard, but I can go into my desert of pleasure. When you come in totally hungover, like overindulged in every way, shape, and form, and have to turn the spigot off. Yeah, if you go way too hard, that spigot is easy to turn off that next day because you're too sick to get out of bed. But then it's the day 3, you're like, have the DTs.
Yeah, I'm going no barrel on this one too. I'm
Yeah.
saying moderation, indulge in moderation.
I mean,
I think
but I'm
that's
going to
the
say
strategy.
there's the times that blowing it out is where you should just let it go, but shouldn't be circled on the calendar.
I agree. Like, look, once a year, whatever the frequency is, like if you're out and yeah, the opportunities present themselves, I don't like the idea of being completely like cut off from the option of just
Yeah.
like, no, I would never, ever, ever because I live my life this way. It's okay to let it all hang out once in a while and realize why you don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
But and yeah, you're right, that probably shouldn't be planned. But take advantage of the opportunity when it presents itself and don't feel guilty about it, you know? But for New Year's, my advice to all of you is enjoy it in moderation.
It's New Year's is just, it's one of those holidays, I think, that's not worth going all in for. What are you going to do? You're going to get a
Yeah.
champagne headache. You are going to, whatever is going on New Year's, it's almost more fun, I feel, on New Year's, particularly, or New Year's Eve, I should say, to sit back and watch people losing it than to be one of those people losing it.
Yeah. Agreed. It's amateur hour. No
Yeah,
need to partake in that.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, good. I feel the same way. Take it easy on New Year's, everybody.
Yeah.
Chaz and I, episode 300 in the books and in the
Man.
archives.
Big one, a big show. Good thing that we had a special show for everyone.
Feels substantial at this point, I suppose.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's be here for another 300.
Doing it.
Sweet. Go listen to Noble Rot. If you didn't catch that, we were together on Monday. That's like your little teaser in between these long weeks, the long 7 days between episodes of The Grit. You can go grab Noble Rot on Mondays on whatever podcast app you're listening to this in. Just search Noble Rot. Chaz produces and hosts that show. I have no idea what it's about until I show up, and then I just freestyle with him. So
Little chef's kiss to the listener.
yeah, I like it. Bonus content. All right. And enjoy New Year's. We will see you in 2025. And until then.
Keep working.
All right. Thank you.